Perfect. Okay. All right. So I'm going to pretend like there's about 50 people here. So good morning, everybody. Obviously, thank you so much for putting this aside this morning. I know we're all busy, but first of all, just to do a quick introduction. I think most of you know who I am, but I am Thomas Rickert, so I'm a Senior Customer Success Manager here at LinkedIn. My colleague you may not know. She'd like to introduce herself now. Natalia, want to unmute yourself?
Hello, can you hear me right now?
Yeah, I got you, yeah.
Okay, lovely. So hi everyone, my name is Natalia Fornalova. I joined the customer success team recently. So it was a month ago. I have work experience in sales, account management and training. So this is my field of expertise. And I'm a new customer success manager also dedicated to Luxoft. So after this training, I also encourage you to check the portal, learning portal I've actually customized to you. So I will send the link afterwards so you can go deeper into InMails. And if you have any further questions on this topic, do not hesitate to contact me. I also left my email address there.
Perfect, thank you. So Natalia will be sending the follow-up to you guys and people who are not present on the call to a link to a website. So it's a website that Natalia created. It will include the presentation from today, the recording from today, but also then some good, it's what we call the good, the bad, and the ugly. So just some really good examples, some bad examples, and some ugly examples. So just check it out if you get a few minutes. But in terms of today's webinar, hoping to cover off some do's and don'ts of InMails. Hoping obviously we'll touch upon some things that you're already doing really well and really just encourage you to keep doing them. Maybe hit upon some new ideas that you can maybe try as well. So the agenda today includes first and foremost just a short reflection on who the audience is and the brand that you position yourself on LinkedIn. And when I say LinkedIn, I mean your free profile, not your recruiter, your personal LinkedIn account. But the thing to bear in mind is that the actions that you take on the InMails or the InMails that you send via recruiter, they're really only as strong as your brand and your profile on LinkedIn. So it's important really to invest time in that. Just a quick point on this. I'm not sure if you guys were on the training that I did in the Luxoft office last month. If you were, there are a few things here that you would have seen already, but we're just going to go into a little bit more detail. But if you weren't on the training, great, that this will all be brand new. But there will be some things here that I didn't cover, but there will be some things that I did. Where was I? Oh yeah, sorry. So in terms of just your brand, when someone receives an email, they're not aware about, you know, what's led you to contact them or what's led you to find them. So it's really important just to remember that. And that's really where investing time in your personal brand comes in. We'll obviously look at some specific recruiter features and some suggestions which will help you run more targeted searching. And why is that important? Because that will allow you then to have better customization on your InMails. Then in turn, we'll try and strike a balance between good customization as well as being efficient and working at scale when possible. I'm not going to spend too much time on the scaling piece. The scaling piece is just pretty much about how you send templates. It's pretty straightforward. I'm just going to mention maybe one or two things about that. That's all. Okay, so all pretty basic, pretty quick. Today is scheduled for an hour. In general, if any of you have ever been on any of my sessions before, they never last the full distance, and that's a conscious choice. So we'll probably go through the material in maybe 35, 40 minutes, and then the rest really is for Q&A. Okay, so in terms of the audience, and what I mean by audience, I mean LinkedIn. So first, when we think about who you could potentially engage with in an InMail, we consider LinkedIn's ever-growing member base. So the last count we did was roughly about 8 weeks ago. If any of you guys follow anybody on LinkedIn that works for LinkedIn, you would have seen that we reached a milestone, and that milestone was that we now have 500 million members. So pretty excited about that. The reason that this is important is we do break down the member segmentation. So of all the members on LinkedIn at any given time, the approx breakdown is about 25% are actively seeking a new job, and therefore 25% of our members, 25% of the member base are the same people that you would encounter on jobs boards. But it's key to consider that the majority of the member base also fall into the passive bucket, And it does a further breakdown amidst these people. So, for example, we see here about 45% declare themselves as not proactively seeking a new job, but are open to a conversation about their career with the right person at the right time. And then similarly, there's a huge opportunity with about 15% of people that are not proactively applying, but are in fact speaking with their friends and their colleagues, past and present, and engaging on groups about LinkedIn and other opportunities. So really, to make this simple, we would consider 15% of people on LinkedIn not approachable. And what we mean by not approachable, they're pretty much the type of people who would just ignore your InMails and do not reply. They're really content. They've no interest in moving jobs. So there's still a big scope there. Still 85% of our members we would consider to be approachable and contactable. It's just a case of right message at the right time with the right content. So with that in mind, and I mentioned your brand and how you position yourself on LinkedIn, because whoever you encounter, it's key really in order to gain their trust, and the perception, and the word that I like to use and I always like to emphasize is credibility. The number one way really you can achieve this with members is by building out your profile and your presence. So ultimately you want to build your brand, have a LinkedIn profile that you're proud of, be fully aware that it will be viewed by anyone who receives an InMail or who receives a call from you, depending on what you do first. One of the sessions as part of this training, I think it's the last session, if memory serves me correct, is it's what we call a rock your profile session. So we will spend an hour on this. Just with InMails, it's so important because we're going to look at a journey now somebody takes, but without it's pretty obvious that the first thing they do is actually check your profile. So in terms of your brand, sorry, before I move on, what I wanted to highlight here in this slide is it's important just to maintain connections, share content, check in with people, keep connections warm, get recommendations, get testimonials, really important, whether it be from candidate placements, it could be colleagues, former colleagues, clients, just keep an eye out for really any source of good recommendations. Just make sure that these are obviously up to date and current, as well as relevant to the type of business that you're doing now. So i.e. everybody on this call, I mean, in some way or another is working in HR or TA, whatever way you call it. There is no point having a recommendation there to do with sales. What's the reason behind this? Because it ties into the whole idea of crowdsourcing. So think about if we're going to a restaurant and we use TripAdvisor to determine, we use TripAdvisor to determine a place is good or worth going to. People do this in a business sense as well, really, when deciding whether or not to do business with you. Okay, so all pretty basic there, nothing brand new, just really to re-emphasize the message of actually being active on the network and the credibility that it actually does give you. So in terms of the brand, very short piece on this, as I mentioned. I'm going to quickly just show you two mock profiles. First up, we have Alex. And then next up, we have Karina. So looking at these two profiles, if you receive an InMail out of the blue from Alex, or if you receive one out of the blue from Karina, it's fair to say it's pretty easy, in fact, which one you probably reply to, which profile has a little bit more credibility. The piece that I just wanted to highlight on Karina's is rich media. She has some articles there. If you guys have any sort of videos, it doesn't have to be about yourself, or it can be. I know a really big thing at the moment, particularly with people working in talent acquisition, is having a virtual business card. So they literally record themselves for maybe a minute and a half, just talking about you, your company, maybe what roles you're hiring for now. And then they put it on their profile. So we're calling that a virtual business card. That's sort of taking off at the moment. So just something to consider maybe. So why is all this important? I mentioned I'm going to go through a journey that a person takes. We call them touch points, but each touch point is an opportunity to share your employee value proposition. So the first thing is a candidate receives an InMail. They then check your profile. We discussed that. Something I didn't mention, the number one activity on LinkedIn is checking people's profiles. So after somebody checks your profile, they will visit the company page. then check job opportunities, and then really decide to opt in or opt out of that InMail. And that's the journey that everybody takes when they receive an InMail. So in terms of being active on our network, this is a slide that I created. It's not like a rule, it's just in terms of best practice and from my experience. So people always say, you know, what do I share? I don't have a clue what to write. It's not Facebook. I can't post a picture of my dinner, which is true. What you can do is you can share some company news. If there's anything exciting going on within your company. Also industry articles if you have any. And then finally, share your jobs. So if you are working in TA and you have jobs available, share your jobs. For some simple reasons. Number one is if your company are posting your jobs, that's tapping into your company's network. If you post the jobs, that's tapping into your network. And then the life cycle continues for everybody in your network who maybe likes or comments or shares and so on. So pretty basic, pretty interesting, but just that's something that I created myself. Obviously, you don't have to stick to it, but where possible, maybe just try. Okay, I know I breezed through that. Any questions, guys, at this point? Just unmute yourself.
Yep.
Oh, pretty basic, really, nothing brand new.
Oh, good for me, thanks.
Okay, thank you. So in terms of some InMail mistakes, can you tell me what's wrong with this one?
It's too long, I'd imagine.
Yeah, good man. Far too long. Why is it far too long? Why is that important? For this reason. So 60% of our traffic comes from a phone or a device. It is a digital world, it is a mobile world, so just remember that. Less is more. We'll talk about personalization later, but less is more. You do not have to write an essay or a short book. Less is more. Really, all you want to do is, I suppose, have a call to action. You know, like, let's set up a call, get them on the telephone, and then sell them the dream, I suppose. But that's less is more. What's wrong with this one? There's only 3 of these examples. We're not going to be here all day. Have a guess, guys. Let me know you're listening.
It's not really personal. It's asking, you know, if you know anyone or know anyone who might know anyone.
Yeah, you're sort of right. Yeah, so making it about us. We don't want them to feel like they're doing us a favor, I suppose. Last one. This is pretty obvious. It's a template.
Forget to delete, insert blank.
Yeah, exactly. So we will speak briefly about templates. This is such a bad template because when you're using templates on LinkedIn, we call it the salutation, we automatically post in their name. You just select if you want hi or dear and so on. But yeah, so this is a completely different type of template where it was just careless, to be honest. These are real examples, by the way. We've just changed the pictures and the top piece. So quick one in terms of do's. You do want to start a conversation. So consider your tone. Don't sound like a robot. Personalize the message. This is a really important one. We're going to look at a survey now in a few moments, but emphasize growth, emphasize the challenge, the impact that they will have in the role. That's a really big one. We'll see it now in a few minutes. Leverage your shared connections. So this is a piece very much what I am showing in terms of searching. So people always have examples of really hard to fill roles. I know, like the hot topic when I go on my travels is anybody really that falls under the umbrella of IT. So why not leverage your shared connections? Get somebody to do a warm introduction for you, or in an email mention, oh, we're both friends with such and such. Just something to make it more engaging and try and get their interest. And then include next steps, or as I call it, a call to action. I would always use from a sales background, they call it an assumptive sell. So rather than saying, are you free for a call, I always say, let me know when we can chat about this tomorrow. Are you free 3 o'clock? Make that assumption that they are free, and that way you'll get some sort of response. They call it an assumptive sell in the sales world. And then finally, ask for referrals. If they're not interested, why not chance your arm? Okay, any of your colleagues, do you know anybody? Just chance your arm, why not? In terms of don'ts, obviously don't make it feel like a template. You want to make them feel important. In theory, when you run searches and you create a project and you add, let's say, 25 or 50 profiles into that project, everybody in that project should be a match for the role. So there should be a good balance of personalization there that will fit all of those if you're sending out a mass email. So just don't make it feel like a template. Do try and get their attention some other way. Don't focus on the job. You don't want to basically kill it on the first one. Focus on them. Don't ask for a CV. Please, please, please. Why would you ask for a CV if they're on LinkedIn, especially on your first engagement? If you do need a CV, and I know a lot of companies still do need CVs, wait until after you've spoken to them. And then finally, don't send a job description. First email. This very much falls under the too much. So if you're looking at it from a phone, it's just too bulky, too clunky, and they're not going to read it. So in terms of some tips for some success, these are some real life stories. I'm just going to breeze through these, guys. These you can read yourself at your own leisure. This particular lady in this particular company seeing an uplift in R&R is response rates, just by the type of personalization that she was putting in. I'm not going to read this out. I'll let you guys do this when you get the follow-up email. This is another good one, asking your candidates to solve a problem. So this particular lady asked her candidates to solve a problem, and her response rates went up because she was asking them a specific question. And then lastly, this is what I'm mentioning about growth, and emphasize growth. So sell the future, not a today. And everybody is guilty of this, whether it be a jobs post or an email from a recruiter, and we talk about how great our company is, and we were founded in 2003, and we have such and such and such and such. That is really good, and it is a good story. But people now want to know about what you're doing tomorrow.
So can we just go back to the previous message?
Yeah.
I mean, from what I'm looking at it, and obviously that's be good to get your perspective, because that message doesn't, to me, doesn't look like a particularly strong message at all. Given what we're saying about it being relatively generic, I'm not entirely sure how you can tell whether someone's got a strong technical background looking at their profile. And then you're sort of saying, please have a look at our company. So it's not really, I can't see where the hook on that message would be.
For the chance for your link to product, complete alignment, some background base, and might be interested in getting to know. Please don't hesitate to contact me. We can organise a quick call to discuss your interest if you're looking for interest. Yeah, I see your point. But this is a real life situation. So Laura, seeing an uplift by using this message, I get your point.
Because it kind of seems to go slightly against what we're saying about the sort of very sort of bland, generic sort of a message. In my opinion, but
no, and to be honest, I would agree. This is a real testimonial, so I can't do anything. I would agree. For me personally, receiving this type of email, I wouldn't reply. It wouldn't strike me as that they have really done much on my profile, or they've really looked into it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with what you're saying.
Yeah, no, that's fair enough. That's cool. Okay.
Okay, just to emphasize the prospects on the go, just remember, please, mobile, guys. A good tip is if you are struggling in terms of response rates, send the whatever. Personally, I always get people to proofread emails that I send. Send an email from your personal LinkedIn to somebody in your office, and just get them to check it on their phone. Just see what the format looks like. If you're including any sort of links or anything, just see what it looks like. Just try that out and see if it works. So in terms of first impressions, so the actual content of the email, it's really good to bear in mind that it's going to determine what the first impression of the reader is. But how you pitch the role to them is also really, really important. So consider two objectives, really: to describe the opportunity and to inspire them to consider it. What are the top qualities you're looking for in the ideal candidate? And this can serve as a compliment to them as well. So everybody likes to be told how great they are, but also maybe what's led you to find them in the search criteria, and acknowledge that they seem to have the traits that you're looking for, and that would make your that really give you the secret sauce, that ideal candidate. Then also appreciate that you have to be discreet, so not to disclose who exactly your client is. Maybe sometimes you also have to remember that. But any point really of the engaging one-liner that can describe what it's like to work at your client's organization. I know it's difficult sometimes to describe, I suppose, culture and values, and it's a word that is overused, is what we call buzzwords. Certainly when I met Luxoft, I encouraged them to make videos, and one was a day in the life of. I don't know if that is going ahead, but hopefully something like that is going ahead. But if you do have any sort of rich media or content that would sort of highlight the values of the culture of the company, do try and use them. Really, just try and think a little bit smarter, I suppose. I mentioned the survey, so this is really good. I don't know any of you on the call have ever received surveys from us. If you ever do receive them, and I mean surveys, not just you spoke to customer service, please fill this in. I mean an actual career survey, please do fill them in, because we do send them out pretty regularly, and that's how we really get the pulse of our network, and that's how also we're able to determine what the breakdown is in terms of who's actively looking and so on. But this is a survey that we did last year as to why people change jobs. So on the left, we can see the main reason people left jobs were the lack of career progression. They weren't feeling challenged enough in their role. On the right, we can see why they joined new companies. And the main reason was career path, and the role was more challenging. So really consider these stats when formulating your InMail and make it more engaging as possible. So the next thing you want to consider is how you're going to promote, either promote the company using an informal and conversational method, I suppose. So instead of saying you're looking for someone who fits well within the culture and values of the company, simply say, you'll find our clients' employees kicking back at monthly happy hours. Everyone, including the CEOs, sits in a cubicle and so on. Or every Friday we go to the pub across the road. Whatever the case may be, just give them a sense of humanization, I suppose. And then lastly, including every detail about your company was found. I've mentioned this, like that's great, but I mean, just think a little bit differently. In some cases, if company history is the driving force behind its appeal to potential candidates, that's fine. Put more emphasis on that. But if not, consider them where you're going. This is a really important one. I also speak about this when posting jobs, very much just following on from the survey. So you want to really highlight the impact of this potential candidate, but also set their expectations. So in this instance, you'll be in charge of a team of 50 salespeople and responsible for increasing revenue by 10% in your first year. We can assure you that you'll never die of boredom. That really just sets the expectations from day one, very first conversation. And then finally, leverage assets to work across the business unit. So, when you're not rolling up your sleeves with sales data, you'll be coaching territory directors on their negotiation skills, meeting with their counterparts to get input on your strategies, and presenting quarterly results to your leadership team. So very much just setting the expectations and letting them know exactly what they will be doing, but avoiding the obvious type buzzwords. We all have an example of either interviewing for a role or working in a role, and we all sit there on week 3 and say this is completely different to what was written in the job description. So this is very much trying to align that. So quick summary on that: personalize, personalize, personalize. Know your audience, so speak the same language. That's not obviously a linguistical thing, but I mean in terms of if you're speaking to a salesperson or a marketing person, they use their own language, try and speak it. The piece that I would always say put the most emphasis on is sell a future. Don't sell today, don't sell yesterday. Obviously be mobile. We looked at the statistics already. And then have ongoing engagement by leveraging content. Everybody is a fan of content and media. Okay, quick piece on search tactics. This is another session that we will run, but I just wanted to emphasize a few things. So in terms of search, and like I said, I'm not going to focus on it too much today, but I just want to emphasize that the impact of an InMail you send is only going to be as strong as the tactics you use when searching. So to be clever about, what sort of Boolean terms you're using or what sort of job titles you're using, when you arrive to a list of results and you apply the filters and you really drill down, this is where I mentioned that everybody, let's say you add to the project, should be the perfect fit. And that way it is a one InMail will really suit all. But in terms of working smarter and being able to target the right people, I just wanted to mention really just a short checklist of actions. So there are a couple that are highlighted here. Number one is company followers. We're going to look at a statistic now in a few moments. You are more likely to get engagement from somebody who is aware of your company already. So it's one that's not really utilized. Just check out your company followers in a search. The next one is the spotlights. Obviously open to new opportunities is there for all to see. When I'm a big fan of this, when I certainly give certain training, I would often say that's where I start my search, because these are people who are open and willing. Another one which I haven't highlighted here is open to relocate. So under the locations piece now, you'll see a drop down and one says current or preferred. If you click on the current or preferred option, these are these are people who are willing to relocate to a specific location that you're searching for. So just check out the spotlights. It's just about trying to work a little bit smarter, really. And finally, engaging with your talent brand. This is a little bit different to company followers. In some way, I would say it's stronger than company followers, because these are people who at some point have commented, liked, or shared a status that your company has posted. So people who are physically engaged with the brand already. Quick question I always get asked on that is, can we find out what article or what exactly they did? Unfortunately, no, we can't. We just know at some point that they have been engaged with the company. So I did mention the statistic. I'll say the statistic in terms of company followers. There we are. So followers of the company are 95% more likely to respond. And then another statistic. 79% of members are interested in job opportunities for companies that they are following. So really, really interesting. This whole piece is just about trying to work a little bit smarter, trying to help us target the right people, and really then that will drive our response rates.
Sorry, just a quick question.
Yes.
Just because I'm kind of having a wee look at the moment on the company follower search. So
Yep.
I can put it as people who follow Luxoft, but not people that follow Excellion.
Yes. I'm just trying to remember, is the Excellion page still available?
I think so, yeah. I've just had a wee look.
Okay, and are you under, so your profile, are you under Luxoft or Excellion?
Excellion.
Okay, you should be able to select Excellion. Will it only allow you to select Luxoft?
Yeah.
Oh, because you're on the Luxoft, it's a Luxoft contract, it's a Luxoft dashboard that you're on, that's why.
Right, okay.
Yeah, unfortunately. Yeah, the Excellion, yeah, because there was a lot of questions about this, about what to do with the Excellion, because I know we wanted at one point to close it, but the problem is you lose your follower base. You can't automatically transfer them. But yeah, very good question, actually. That's something that I'd have to check up on. So how can you target them now, because you're not on an Excellion contract? Okay.
Yeah, I mean, they seem to have like 15,000 followers or something.
Yeah,
so.
exactly. Yeah, no, this is a conversation I had with them, and
yeah.
this is why we decided to keep it, because you'll lose those followers. But yeah, how can you target them now if you're not on? Good question. I'll have to follow up with you on that, Lauren. Really good question. I actually never even thought about that. Okay. Any other questions on that piece? No. Okay. Just in terms of a checklist of actions, what do you do with responses? Connect with them on LinkedIn. Add them to a project. Enable the update me. If you don't know what the update me is, I will show you during a different section, and then add some sort of note to their profile. So keep the lead warm. Really, you're just trying to build that talent pool. So just always try and keep it warm. And then finally, the InMail analytics piece. I know we've had a lot of problems with InMails about the rules around InMails, and hopefully that's nearly cleared up now. But something that I wanted to highlight is everybody has access to view their own usage reports. This is more or less what it looks like, although there will also be a graph. if you click on the tool, the admin tools piece at the top of the page, or the reports piece at the top of the page, sorry, and then click on the InMail analytics, you can run reports yourself and check your usage. I would encourage everybody to do that. I know that, like I said, I know there's been some problems and people, certainly around the rules, and the rules haven't changed, but just check out your own reports every so often and see exactly where you're standing in that month. And we've tried to make them as easy to use and as pretty, really, as we possibly can. And you can also download that data if needs be and bring it along to any sort of manager meeting if your rates are improving. Any questions on the rules around InMails, guys, while you're here?
All good.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay. That's pretty much it in terms of InMails. So what did we look at? We looked at the audience, your brand, which we will do its own individual session on later on. Looked at a couple of InMail mistakes, a couple of tips for success, leveraging the search tactics, so just trying to work a little bit smarter and really grouping the right type of people together, and finally then just the InMail analytics piece. That's pretty much it in terms of today. Like I said, it's not too product heavy. Hopefully one tip maybe you picked up, just remember mobile and personalization. And remember that survey. So sell a future, not sell a past. For anybody who joined late, we did have some latecomers. Natalia introduced herself at the start of the call. She will send a follow-up email afterwards, which will include a link to a website, which will have the recording from today and also the presentation, but also a couple of things that we didn't go through today. So we call them the good, the bad, and the ugly. So once again, some real life scenarios of good InMails, bad InMails, and ugly InMails. So if you want to just check that out. For those of you who don't have any questions, you're free to log off now and get on with your day. But I will stay on the line if anybody's any questions. No, all quiet?
Yep, all good.
Okay, guys. Thank you very much for your time this morning.
All good. Thank you very much, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye, guys.